The Folk Tales of the Mountain Backdu. Hello. Today I am going to tell of the story of the monster of the Cheonji. There are 2 square meters of a stone mound when we come to the Cheonji side along the border between the Hwagebong Peak and the Jehabong Peak of the mountain Backdu. In the summertime, this stone mound, which rises aloft upon a herd of flowers, is called the memorial altar of the Yeojin. Why had been set up the memorial altar of the Yeojin? The Dragon King of the East Sea had a son who was a loafer. There was nothing fearful in his eyes. He did not think law valuable. No one dared to touch him. He was the very terrapin. The big terrapin who was bigger than a big wooden bowl came to the Cheonji and ran wild at his pleasure. Sometimes he poured out showers to immerse the cozy village in the water, and sometimes he drove the terrible drought and made afire the trees and plants in the mountain. He put all kinds of disaster on them without hesitation. The government official dispatched a brave general several times to kill that terrapin lurking in the Cheonji. However, there were no generals who came back, even though there were generals who came out. The king could not but put up the notice all over the country and declared that he would give the man who caught the monster terrapin the official rank, much salaries, and the treasures of gold and silver. It had been a long time since the announcement was posted up, but no one dared to come forward. Then one day a man came into the palace to meet the king.
"Where are you from? And what do you do now?"
"Oh, your majesty, I am a catcher. I live under the mountain Backdu. I've seen the king's announcement, so I am here."
"That's not how it works out, a solution through a hunter's bow, a spear, or a knife."
"Your majesty, I am in the know. With all due respect, I am gonna have to fish this out."
"With whom will you go?"
"Your majesty, I have only one son. My brother and wife were also killed by the monster in the Cheonji of the mountain Backdu. I am going to catch that monster with my son."
"You hunter, listen to me. When you catch that monster, it will be properly rewarded for your effort, according to the announcement. And what else do you want?"
"Your majesty, please give me the most solid bit of thread in the country to use as a fishing line."
"Ha ha. We can't do that?"
The king ordered his servants to bring the strongest line of thread in the country. The catcher, who had come out from the palace, came back home, packed himself off, and left for the Cheonji with his son. When they reached the foot of the mountain Backdu, the day was over. They found a cave, laid their beds slovenly there, and fell asleep. As the white smoke spouted from the ground with the sound of pung, a pure white old woman walked toward the catcher.
"Where are you going?"
"I'm going to catch the monster in the Cheonji of the mountain Backdu."
"Why do you want to sacrifice your precious life for nothing?"
"That guy is bringing disaster upon the earth. The whole country is suffering. I can't stand still just because I don't want to lose my precious life."
"Admirable for you. The monster is a terrapin. You have to catch it with this fishing hook."
"Grandma, thanks a lot."
As the catcher bowed his thanks and looked up, the old woman was nowhere to be found. He was so sorry that he looked around and opened his eyes. It was a dream, but next to the catcher, there was a fishing rod and fishing hook.
"Oh, the spirit of the mountain Backdu is helping us."
Thinking about the catcher looked up to the mountain Backdu and bowed his knees to it 3 times. When the catcher almost reached the Jehabong Peak, a roe deer jumped out. The catcher caught the roe deer by equipping the bow with an arrow. As he reached the Cheonji, he stripped the flesh of the roe deer's back leg and used it as a bait for fishing. However, the terrapin did not even touch the fishing line during the 3 days had passed away. The catcher was upset passively.
Dad, there's a deer.
His son was pointing and shouting. The catcher equipped the bow with an arrow at once and shot a deer. The deer, which was hit by an arrow with a sound of shung, rolled onto the Cheonji side. Grabbing with a dagger, the catcher ran to the deer and stripped the meat of its back leg. He abandoned the bait of a roe deer's meat, and then he fished with the bait of a deer's meat. But for another 3 days, it was still not working.
Ooh.
The catcher sighed. At this time, his son informed him.
Dad, the only thing that terrapin eats is human flesh.
His son splashed into the Cheonji.
Oh, my son. What the hell is this?
Just grab the fishing rod. Do quickly.
The son, who said this, hooked his abdomen with a fishing hook and disappeared under the water. The impatient catcher abandoned the fishing rod and pulled the fishing line to save his son. However, he could not budge the fishing line that seemed to be caught on the rock. The catcher pulled the line with all his strength. 1 span by 1 span, he barely pulled up it. Finally, he confirmed with his own eyes that it was the terrapin, the monster of the Cheonji. The catcher picked up a stone like a millstone and tried to crush the head of a terrapin. But the terrapin rolled on into the Cheonji again. The terrapin was so strong that the catcher could not beat it. The catcher who caught the fishing line stood with stretching his limbs and breaking thick sweat, and the old woman who came to the dream appeared. The catcher cried out in a daze.
Grandma, come on!
The catcher was in a position to borrow even a cat's foot, so he asked the old woman to help. As the old woman helped the catcher, terrapin could not stood firm anymore and was pulled out slowly. Then the old woman urged the catcher.
Turn the terrapin upside down. Hurry up.
The catcher did quickly as the old woman said.
Cut the terrapin's abdomen open and take out your son from there.
The catcher picked up the dagger and cut the abdomen of the terrapin with it in straight and took out his son. The son whom the terrapin had swallowed was already out of breath, although his body was fine. The father took hold of his son and cried loudly. The old woman, who was watching all these scenes from the side, pushed away the catcher and stroked his son once from head to foot. Then the son slowly opened his eyes and said,
Dad.
The catcher was so happy that he hugged his son all at once. When he tried to give thanks to the old woman, she was gone again. As for the catcher who got rid of the source of calamity in the country by killing the monster of the Cheonji, the king said that he would follow the notice and had the catcher speak of the wish.
I have no special wish. I do not want government posts, salaries, or the treasures of gold and silver. Now the whole country is suffering from the disaster of the terrapin, and the lives of the people are in dire straits. Oh, your majesty, please reduce the tax burden of the people.
The king delightfully accepted the catcher's wish. The catcher came back home and had happy days until he passed away. The king who heard the news was very sad. In order to tell the all generations' loyalty and contribution of the catcher in many years, the king let his servants set up a memorial altar in the place where the catcher caught the terrapin and made sacrifices every year in the country. It is said that the memorial altar that was prepared at that time is the stone mound now. Perhaps that king was one of the Yeojin race, and so the latter people call this name of the memorial altar of the Yeojin.